I was actually homeless for 8 years and lived at Civic Center downtown Santa Ana in a tent. Was very against services and stuff when they first came out. Finally let my guard down. I took the help and got connected to Colette's Children's Home. And there I was able to meet Jessica Bruce, who's now my boss. And within about 6 months of me living there, I was about 7 months or 8 months pregnant with my daughter. And she had told me, you got to give me another 6 months of living on your own and doing well. And then she had moved over to CityNet and said, would you like to come help do outreach in the riverbed? I was able to go assist with the riverbed cleanup and got hired for CityNet and was one of their first outreach workers. And then, over time moved up to a case manager, and then now I've been able to help run this team.
There is a saying in policing, wear numerous hats, and I think that's okay. We're generalists in that sense. But I don't think that when we start responding to a certain type of issue that has no criminal nexus or safety concern, then I think we start to get into an area that I think is a little gray, or we don't really have a legal foundation to address those issues. So I think it's important for us to always look at opportunities to address these issues in a different way. So we really needed a team to go out there and deal with these individuals who were really suffering from either homelessness, mental illness, or drug addiction.
When we go out and there's no badge and there's no gun, it just removes one of the other barriers that might exist. So we can connect faster and more effectively and begin that process of building trust so that we can extend the offer for care, and then people are more likely to be receptive to it.
We'll start with simple things like, do you need some socks? Do you need a hygiene kit? Do you have a mask? Do you have hand sanitizer? Do you want some information? And sometimes, they'll shut you down right away, but it's like, we don't give up. Next day, maybe I'll ask something else, or always, offering them food, which I feel like is a good gateway to just normalcy and being a human, And then sometimes right out the gate, they're like, I need you guys, or I've been looking for you guys, or I really want to get help. I want to get shelter. So then we can do the enrollment, which is more personal questions and things like that.
So we definitely have seen a reduction in calls for service when it comes to homeless calls. We've also seen an increase of street exits, and that's definitely done by those professionals. So it's been tremendous. We have communication. Our dispatch center will usually get a lot of the calls. We evaluate them. We determine if there's any criminal nexus or safety concerns. If there are, the police department will respond to those. If not, CCRT is doing a much better job when it comes to responding to those things. So hopefully that impacts the quality of life of our residents, businesses, and visitors who come here.
So the numbers are strong. We're handling a high volume. We're operating from 7 in the morning till 9 at night, 7 days a week. We have a live dispatch so that when people call us, they get a live operator who can direct our teams in the field. So it's going really well. It is a pilot, and so we're testing things out and growing and refining the model, but we're off to a really strong start.
But one that really sticks out to me that was about a year ago was a girl that was pregnant behind a restaurant. I went for about a week straight every day, talked to her a little bit, and she was obviously very high on drugs. So my first step was how can we get this girl to go to the doctor? We just want to make sure that, both of them are okay. I couldn't convince her to go to the doctor, but she did end up going into early labor. I met her at the hospital, and right after she delivered, I was like, this is the time that she's gonna come to this reality that something that she loves is being taken from her. And I went through the same thing, that was me. So I sat there with her, and when she woke up, she was crying and she was very real, and she was like, thank you guys for being here. And we ended up getting her into shelter by the next day. I got her connected to the nurses at the hospital so she could stay in contact with her son. I said, they're gonna say some really harsh things to you because of, you on paper, what's happened, but you can't lose hope. I said, I wish I had somebody there for me to tell me the truth when I was going through it. And so she listened, and she made it to all of her court dates, and she stayed at the La Mesa shelter, and she worked with the family reunification program. And within 6 months, she was sober. She had been 6 months clean, was going to court to get her son back, started to get visitation with him. And today she's got an apartment, she has a full-time job, she has a car, and she has her son back. And her son's gonna be 1.5 years. She made me realize that some people, it's not always gonna be the same route. Everybody has a different story. Everybody is gonna, use different tools to get to where they wanna be, or how they get there is very important.
Look, coronavirus impacted us in many ways. The monies that came forward from the government helped us to fund this program to see if this program will be beneficial for our community. And obviously it'll be up to our elected officials, and that comes from input from our community to say, hey, is this program really working? I'm going to tell you, I think it is. Through the funding, homelessness has to have a nexus to homelessness. We believe that there's other individuals who may not be homeless who have a drug dependency or mental illness, but we're working in those avenues now to see how we can address those things in the future.
So I think in the next 6 months, if the project is renewed, our goal would be to send more calls our way, and more different types of calls. So I think that's one of the things. And then I think the other thing is long-term connections. So being able to show how people who start out on the streets and go into a shelter, it's not just a cycle of on the streets, into a shelter, back on the streets, into a shelter, back onto the streets, but that actually we're following those cases all the way through and helping people progress all the way towards the ideal goal, which is permanent housing.
I think that it's important that CityNet, stays true to our original mission statement, and boots on the ground, and that we're out there in it with everybody. As long as we don't lose sight of that and we keep those relationships, strong. I think it's really cool that, we've gotten to step in kind of where some of the police has backed off a little bit. We can be that bridge to the mental health, and, it's like if they see just a person that wants to help them, usually they're more willing to take those services. So I think it's been really successful so far.